Okay, so today I thought I would do a quick video on the present value concept in case you're not familiar with this. I am going to use an example from the book as a starting point. So, right, this problem is on page 609 in your textbook. And it says, for example, assume that you are to receive $200 2 years from now. You know that the future value, right, of this sum is $200 because this is the amount that you'll be receiving in 2 years. But what is the sum's present value? What is it worth right now? The present value of any sum to be received in the future can be computed by using this equation, which they give you in the book. So let's use the equation, which almost no one does, but we're going to go ahead and do it here. So this says that the present value, the P, is equal to the future value over 1 plus R. So R is the interest rate, and they told us in this problem that R is 0.05 or 5%. So it's the present value is the future value over 1 plus R to the nth power, and n is the number of periods. So here they tell us 2 years, so n is equal to 2. And so let's do the math. So this is equal to the future value over 1 plus R, so 1.05 raised to the second power. Okay, so that gives us the present value of that $200 when we're talking about a period of 2 years and an interest rate of 5% is 181.41. So let's work this the other way. Let's just check this number. So what this means is that if we have 181.41 right now, right? What would happen if we invest that at 5% for 1 year? What would this 181.41 be worth in 1 year? So we know how to calculate that. We know how to calculate simple interest. So we would just take that number, right, and multiply it by 0.05. And that tells us the amount of interest that we've earned over 1 year, right? And so if we take our principal and add to that the interest, we get that it would be, the dollar value would be 190.48 at the end of the first year. An easier way to do that would just be to take the principal and multiply it by 1.05. Okay, so that's going to give you back both your principal and your earned interest. And so we get 191.48. Let's just put this in cents. Okay, so obviously you're going to get the same number here and here. Okay, so at the end of year 1, you have 190.48. Let's figure out what it's going to be worth at the end of the second year. So here, right, if we're compounding interest, we're going to start with the 190 and we're going to multiply it by 1.05 because we're earning 5% this year. Okay, and so at the end of the second year, we have $200, right? And so that's exactly what the present value calculation is doing. It's just doing it backwards. It's saying if we want to end up with this amount or we end up with this amount, what amount do we need to start with given this R and this N? And so that's what the 181.41 is. So it has nothing to do with inflation, right? It has to do with the amount of return or the rate of return that you earn over the 2 years, okay? So we can also do this using the tables, and that's what you're gonna have to use in the homework in order to get the right number. And so generally what's going to happen is they're going to give you the future value like they did here, the $200, and you have to figure out the present value. So here we're going to use the present value of a dollar table. This is on page 613 in your book. And you have to find the appropriate interest rate, which is 5% for this problem, and N is 2. So we end up with this factor 0.907. So what you do is you take your future value amount, the 200, and you just multiply it by the factor, right? So they're basically just turning this inverse relationship into a fraction or into a decimal point. And so you're going to end up with the same number. This is off by a cent, but you're going to have rounding errors. So anyway, that's why you want to use the tables in order to get the numbers how the automated homework system wants them. But if you were doing this in real life, you would use Excel because Excel makes it super easy. So And you can use Excel to sort of check your work if you want. So here I'm going to do this problem using Excel. So I'm just going to hit equals and type in PV. So that gives me the present value function. And if I put in a parentheses, then it tells me what the inputs are that it needs. So my rate, right, is 0.05. The number of periods in this problem is 2. PMT means payment, and that means if we have an annuity, like the same amount occurring multiple times, which we don't have in this problem. So I'm just going to skip it. So I hit another comma, and that moves me to FV. So the future value, which we know is 200. And then type, I would use if I was talking about annuities, but I'm not. And so you end the parentheses, and it gives you 181.41. Okay. So if you have any questions about this or the concept, let me know.